Shawnee, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101. Welcome back to Holiday Review Extravaganza on my channel. Today we are going to be talking about another really popular holiday palette. This is the Urban Decay Vice 4 palette. We all know Urban Decay's tradition of releasing a Vice palette every holiday season. Along with this Vice palette, Urban Decay actually also released another palette called the Spectrum palette, and I did already film a full in-depth review and swatch video on that palette. I will be sure to put a link to that video in the description box below if you guys are interested. But today we are going to be solely focusing on the new Vice 4 palette. I picked this product up on Sephora.com for $60. I believe you could also pick this up on the Urban Decay website, and I assume it will be coming to Ulta's and Macy's really soon. I'm not gonna lie, I was really excited about this product, mainly because of the outer packaging. This is what the outer packaging of the actual palette itself looks like, and I don't know how well you can tell on camera here, but it is like an oil spill or like an oil slick. It flashes from teal to pink to purple to like a yellowish golden color. It is gorgeous. And you can see that oil slick part of the palette is actually raised. So it is almost like this plastic that's been put on top of the actual palette underneath, which is black. And it also has kind of like this spider web shattered design on it, and then it does say Vice down here, and in the very center of the little shatter it does have the Urban Decay UD written there. It's really cute. The size of the palette is really slim compared to some of the more original Vice palettes. This one is just as slim, I believe, as last year's Vice palette. Now this palette does come in a really gorgeous box, which looks very similar to the actual palette, and the palette also comes with a little travel bag, which I think is really cute. Once again, same overall design, and I think it is important to note that the palette does actually slip in and out of this pouch really easily. So if you wanted to travel with this palette, you can use this pouch. Okay, so jumping into the good stuff, the stuff we all care about. This is what the inside of the palette looks like. The overall layout of this palette is very similar to previous Vice palettes in the sense that it has a lot of bright colors and a lot of colors that don't necessarily, I mean, you wouldn't look at this palette and think, oh yeah, all of those colors work really well together. You can definitely get a lot of different looks out of the colors that are in this palette, but you may have to get a little creative. The way I've been using this palette more so is to use a couple of the colors individually and then maybe pull in a neutral matte palette to help, you know, give a nice transition color or an outer corner color. Down here in this compartment, you do get a little double-ended brush. It has a flat shader end on one side and a small little crease brush on the other side. So now I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into swatches of this entire palette. I went ahead and swatched them in rows across. Starting off with the top row, the first shade we have is called Bones, and this is a light grayish pewtery color with a metallic finish. Next we have Grip, and this is a medium slate gray color with a mainly matte base, but it does have some silver glitter specks in it. Deadbeat is a gorgeous, dark, rich black color with a lot of silver and multicolored glitter in it. Beat Down is a gorgeous royal purple color with a beautiful metallic finish, and it flashes some blue in there as well. Pandemonium is an extremely glittery, true metallic eggplant purple. Moving on to the second row in the palette, the first color we have is Framed, and this one is a matte light buttercream color. Fastball is a really metallic, kind of like a pinkish salmon color. 1985 is a true bright fuchsia pink with a metallic finish. Underhand is a gorgeous, truly metallic eggplanty purple with a little bit of like a burgundy base to it. And lastly, we have Harlot, which is a very, very metallic, lilac-y purple. Moving on to the third row in the palette, the first shade we have is called Discreet, which is a light matte gray color. Grasshopper is a true, bright, vibrant, metallic emerald green. C Note is a very, very metallic, kind of like a seafoam green type color. Arctic is a glittery teal blue color, and it does have chunks of gold and silver glitter. And lastly, we have Robbery, which is a very metallic, kind of like a taupey, pewtery gray. And finishing this palette up with the last row. The first shade we have is called Bitter, which is a truly matte, medium, warm brown. Flame is a really, really metallic, kind of like a peachy gold color with a lot of gold chunky glitter in it. Low is a medium, kind of like a gunmetal gray with, once again, a lot of chunky silver glitter. Crowbar is kind of like an army green base with a lot of gold chunky glitter. And lastly, we have Delete, which is a true matte, beautiful, cool toned brown. You can definitely tell by the swatches of this palette that a lot of the colors have that typical Urban Decay chunky glitter in it, which is definitely going to be something you either love or hate. I will say if you use those glittery colors with a brush, more often than not, you will have a lot of fallout on your face, but you can pack on those colors with your finger to really minimize the fallout. The colors in this palette are definitely beautiful. There is no doubt about that. And some of the shades are very unique. Okay, now let's go ahead and do some side-by-side comparisons of all of the previous Vice palettes that Urban Decay has released. We'll go ahead and start with the old school, the original Urban Decay Vice palette. This is the one that came out like 3 years ago. Here are the side-by-side comparisons of those. Over here we have the original Vice palette, and over here we have the new Vice 4 palette. The next comparison is going to be on the Vice 2 palette. So here are those two palettes compared. Here we have the Vice 2, and then over here, once again, the Vice 4. Now let's go ahead and compare last year's palette, which was Vice 3. Here are those two compared. Here you have Vice 3, and then over here you have Vice 4. And then the final comparison I want to do is on the really limited Vice LTD palette. This one came out, I think it was last year. I don't even know. It came out at a very random time, but I'll go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison of this one. So here are those two compared. Here we have Vice LTD, and once again over here, Vice 4. A couple of final notes I want to make about this palette is that you are getting 0.03 ounces of product in each of these eyeshadows, or 0.8 grams, which is pretty small. That's about half of what you would get in a full-size Urban Decay shadow, but the fact that you are getting 20 different colors for $60, it's still a good price at the end of the day. Overall, this palette is definitely for somebody who likes the chunky, glittery eyeshadows. The Vice 4 has more chunky glitters in it than any of the other Vice palettes that I showed you. So you definitely have to like the glitter. This definitely isn't my favorite Vice palette that has come out. In fact, it's probably one of my least favorites in terms of the actual shadows that are in it, but the outer packaging is just gorgeous. But if I had to pick between the Vice 4 or the Spectrum palette, which once again I did do a full review video, which is linked in the description box below, I would 100% go with the Spectrum palette. The colors in that palette work better together. It has some more unique colors, and it doesn't have as many chunky glitters as the colors in this palette. But if you already own a lot of Urban Decay eyeshadows or a lot of Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes, all 20 of the shades that are in this palette are exclusive to this palette. So they are new shadows, never before seen, unlike the Spectrum palette. So really it's all about personal preference, but I do prefer the Spectrum palette over the Vice 4. personally. So that is what I have to say about the Vice 4 palette. I hope this review video was helpful to you guys and you guys enjoyed it. As always, be sure to check out my holiday review extravaganza playlist. It is the first link in the description box down below, and all of my holiday review videos will be up into that playlist as they are uploaded. Thank you guys so much for watching this review video, and I will catch you guys for a bonus video on Saturday. I will see you then. Bye! Right in the pan, and some people may think, oh, they definitely won't come across like that on my skin. They will. Note that the quality of these lip glosses seems to be exactly the same as what you would purchase if you were to pick up